We are, without a doubt, living in the golden age of superhero television. What a time to be a fan of comic book-based material. Oh boy! And while animation has always had a few gems in this area, live action is stepping up. Live action on the small screen is stepping up like never before. Umbrella Academy, Doom Patrol, and, of course, the topic of today's review, The Boys. All three of those shows debuted just last year, and now, 1 year later only, all three have produced second seasons. They're not only on par with their first seasons, but in every single case, feel like they've picked up right where they left off, not skipping a single beat. But, yes, I'm afraid there's a but. I think they might be shooting themselves in the super foot, because I think they're really hurting themselves with where they're available and their release strategy. Of all these shows, including the wonderful Harley Quinn, which is animated but is in the mix right now, only one of them is available for binge viewing, and that, of course, is Umbrella Academy. All the other shows are doing this ridiculous weekly release strategy. We'll talk about Game of Thrones in a minute, but I strongly believe that superhero television, blockbuster television today, especially during a pandemic where everybody's limited in where they can go, they want to binge this stuff. Weekly release is not a good strategy, and I'm worried about season 3s for all of these shows. At least The Boys has already been renewed for season 3, which makes me very hopeful for its final episode. I've only seen the first 3 episodes. That's all I'm reviewing here, no spoilers. But I'm hopeful that it's going to end with a bang, even if it starts with a bit of a whimper, which we'll discuss in a moment. But they must feel pretty darn good about it to already renew it for season 3. But I think this weekly release thing is going to really, I hope it doesn't, but I'm scared it's going to hurt it, just as it's hurt brilliant shows Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn. Now, yes, Game of Thrones was a weekly release, but you know what? That worked because Game of Thrones was written to be a weekly release. The show was sure to provide every Sunday not just soap opera drama, but spectacle. That was a really potent and important formula, which I've yet to see in any of these other shows, including the first 3 episodes of The Boys season 2. So if you don't get the full picture, it's more difficult to really appreciate the grand. It's really, these things need to be like 8 to 10 hour movies. And I think that, either people are going to wait till they can binge it, and then what? They're going to talk about this 2 months later? Like, who's going to be talking about it then? Or, people will watch a few, be a little unsatisfied, and then be like, maybe I should wait till I can watch them all together. I mean, The Mandalorian has worked, but The Mandalorian had a very simplistic all-ages format to it, and also had a lot of Star Wars mythology to draw on. So we would always be... And also, I have to say, we didn't even really love The Mandalorian until the end, when it got more mythology and world-building in, more tied into the rest of the Star Wars universe. But these shows, with the exception of Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol, are in their own, Umbrella Academy and The Boys are in their own space. So there's no... I don't know. The Boys kind of starts to do some world building this season, so that might really pay off. And we have some season 3 teases already, so that might balance out this horrible release schedule idea. But it killed Doom Patrol, it killed Harley Quinn, and it also really hurt Defending Jacob, which was starred a superhero in his civilian life, and Chris Evans, and that show didn't deserve the lack of attention that it ended up getting. Now again, maybe The Boys will really kick it into high gear after the first 3 episodes, but so far I feel that the show is not written for the way it's being released. I feel like this was a decision that was made after season 2 was already written, and I think that it would have benefited this show to know what its release strategy would be, so that the first 3 episodes could be a little bit more wow. Because there's really, I feel there's some chance people are going to watch the first 3 episodes and be a bit underwhelmed, as I was. Underwhelmed and concerned was kind of the place I was happy to be there. I still love this show. I want to make that clear. But I think this release strategy is a really big problem. So in the first 3 episodes, there's no wow, impressive action sequence. Like, to me, binging season 1 when it came out in July last year, I knew that show, I knew The Boys season 1 was something special and uniquely dark. with the plane sequence. I was like, this is a show that's doing something exciting. And that wasn't until episode 4. So the slower build at the beginning, I think, would be fine if I had all 8 episodes and I could go through it and see the whole piece and see the whole thing that was planned by the show. Here, I only have 3 parts of the puzzle, and, it's frustrating. The story reveals, there are some story reveals in the first 3 episodes, and they're interesting, but they're small scale. One of them is a little bit more interesting when you know that Soldier Boy is coming in season 3. I didn't know that when I watched them. I got them before that announcement, so that should hopefully help that a little bit. But even still, I don't think they were pointing enough in that direction to make you go like, oh my God, wow. I think you have to do a lot of that work yourself. Some people will, but some people won't. There are some bigger scenes, but they've already been in the teasers, which is, I think, a problem because, and also there's not that much more to the scene. You've seen most of the big scene in the teaser. So I think that that's also a little bit of a problem. So while I loved what I watched, I wasn't blown away. I wish there had been a sequence like the plane sequence in the first 3 episodes. I think that would have been important. I don't see anything that will get people talking or tweeting, besides the normal, I love this show. It's a great show. Also, I have to admit, I'm worried about Stormfront. I'm a little worried about Stormfront. Not Aya Cash's performance. I think she's doing a fantastic, very brave job, particularly because her character is pretty freaking unlikable. Also, one thing that is a little bit of a problem for me that I'm nervous about is that she's, on the one hand, a hardcore feminist, which I think is good, but then she's also like a genuinely evil person. So I'm like, considering how many people feel that feminists are evil, and that's totally an erroneous statement, it's wrong, I don't like the things being associated together on this show. I would hate for someone to watch this and be like, yeah, feminists are evil. And I'm like, no. I guess, Homelander takes some things. Well, here's the thing. Anthony Starr's Homelander is a Hans Gruber type villain. Sure, he's bad, but we absolutely adore him anyway. And by the way, I'm concerned that his allegiance with Stormfront, not hinted at all in the first 3 episodes, but in the second trailer, the final trailer it was, I'm worried they'll make him cross the line where we can't love him anymore either. Stormfront is not a Kate Walsh the Handler type character, speaking of Umbrella Academy, who's like a lot of fun. This is not at all fun. She's not the female version of Homelander. She's really, it's like if Homelander was going around saying so far Stormfront hasn't done this, but I think the equivalent would be if Homelander started saying the N-word. You'd be like, I don't know what to do. So that's kind of how I felt watching Stormfront in these first 3 episodes, particularly after episode 3. I was like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, please stay away from Homelander. I'm begging you. That's a concern. I think a truly evil villain could be interesting as long as she doesn't bring down Homelander with her. I'm like, I don't want that. And some of her scenes, by the way, remind me of the Boys comic, the original comic, which I know some of you love, and I've read it, but I often felt that it went too far. And that's why it never reached a very wide audience. And the show, the Boys TV show, up until this point, from what I've seen, season 1 and now the first 3 episodes, so far, it has managed to do a really great balance of being smart, edgy, and meta, and really pushing the edge of the envelope, but not to the point where it alienates anyone. I think that's very important. We'll talk about something Homelander does without, don't worry, no spoilers, but I just want to hint at it, that I was like, I think that might have been a little bit too far. I'm not sure. I'll be curious to see how you guys feel about it. And I wish that I could tell you, it was a little dicey in the beginning and made me scared, but don't worry, everything worked out. But I can't, because they only gave 3 episodes to press. That's another problem. I think it's hard. When you see, when I watched all of Umbrella Academy, I was able to be like, what a ride. But I've only seen 3 episodes of the Boys, so I can't say the same thing, even though I really want to. I think they'll probably stick the landing because the people on this show have proven to be incredibly talented. But 3 episodes in, as I said, I'm a little nervous. But of course, who doesn't love spending time with, 3 hours with this cast and in this world? That, of course, is always a delight. Everyone is just as charismatic as they were in season 1. And the first 3 episodes, while there might be a lot about moving pieces into position, some of those moves, again, as I said, are pretty interesting. In the 7, Starlight takes some steps, she really steps up like never before, becoming kind of the show's blonde Jessica Jones. Erin Moriarty, right out of the gate, is given a much more dynamic, interesting role, and she chows down on it. I was really impressed. And I really like the fascinating, realistic look at how celebrity is manufactured. I thought that was great. I like tearing back the curtain on a lot of things, and the show continues to do that. I like deconstructing things, and of course, that's one of the pillars of The Boys. And Homelander with his son, all that stuff is gold. Pure gold, especially considering the fact that his son does not like him. It makes me feel that maybe the only person who can take Homelander down is his own son. And I think that would be really great to watch. So I'm very curious to see how this progresses. Anthony Starr, of course, as always, is flawless in his performance, depicting all of Homelander's nuances just perfectly. But fans, because he's our favorite, I think he's most people's favorite. I think, he's mine. Will be disappointed he's not given a big action scene in the first 3 episodes. And he's slightly sidelined, particularly by Stormfront. I mean, I think the end of episode 3 is supposed to kind of get you upset. Like Homelander's upset. I was upset. But I'm just, I think the second trailer, the final trailer, when he seemed to be buddying up to Stormfront, I think that's what really has made me nervous. I'm like, don't be friends with that lady. She's just a villain. She's not a Hans Gruber. Now, also, something else that made me nervous about Homelander is that he has an interaction in the first 3 episodes with a Daredevil-type character. And maybe this was supposed to be a wow, but it made me nervous. Especially because, I guess it was in character, but I think that the audience watches this and goes, oh boy, an Asian character. And then you're like, oh. So it's difficult. It's a difficult balance to strike. And while Chase Crawford is always a delight on this show, I love him on this show. And I really like, by the way, the 3rd string Hawkeye stand-in who comes in to help him clean up his life. That character has tremendous potential. A lot of the time that it was spent in the first 3 episodes on a gag involving Patton Oswalt. That's all I'll say. It just didn't stick to me. I didn't think it was particularly funny, so I was like, why are we spending so much time on this? Maeve, who I know a lot of you want to see more of, and she was very compelling in season 1. I too want to see more of this character. She's given what looks like the beginnings of a touching storyline with her girlfriend, which already, of course, was started in season 1. So they're moving along with that. But I have to say, since season 1, Harley Quinn has made leaps and bounds in terms of depicting lesbian relationships, not only in this genre, but overall. So now this closeted storyline seems a bit dated. We've already moved past this type of storyline, I think. Now, Giancarlo Esposito's Stan Edgar is fabulous, as you would expect. A wonderful addition to the Vaught storylines. His one scene in episode 1 with Homelander is absolute perfection. I loved it. It was like I think maybe my favorite scene, along with Homelander and his son, I like some of the boys' stuff that we'll talk about in a second. I did enjoy the first 3 episodes, but that scene was fantastic. However, that was his only major scene, and he's in 1.5 other scenes, but more sideline than I would have liked. As for the boys themselves, right, the struggle of leadership between Butcher and Hughie is a great, strong choice. And I was happily surprised to see that Hughie not only has the makings of maybe being a darn good leader, but the rest of the team is actually considering listening to him. I was like, I didn't see that coming, but I love it. Also, Butcher being distracted by trying to find his wife, whose location he only knows from the visual clues he briefly saw when Homelander dropped him off there, is a really great and compelling story idea as well. It's also great to see Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko all step up and be much more developed and even have cooler styling. They all look so good than they were in season 1. Only Kimiko has... before they were kind of like the backup dancers to Hughie and Butcher, but now every member of the boys is front and center and really, really interesting. And I think that even though Kimiko is the only one who has powers, they've all quickly leveled up to be just as interesting and dynamic across the board as the 7. I really was impressed. Karen Fukuhara in particular has such great makeup. She just looks fantastic. The world building also continues to be excellent. For instance, there's a funeral for Translucent. It had one pretty good sight gag. Overall, though, I didn't think it was as funny as they intended it to be. It was a little bit too much like the church stuff from season 1. But the theater, the arena that they have the funeral in, that was an amazing bit of production design. I mean, it's such an imposing, bold, and heavy-handed patriotic look, but it was also beautiful. You were like, this is a lot, but I have to say, I think it works. So I loved that. That's the kind of stuff The Boys does really well. For some reason, the Vaught offices still seem to be substantially under construction. We didn't get to see too much more of that, and I would have liked to. And that's kind of like how I feel about the whole first 3 episodes. I'm very glad The Boys is back. I continue to love this show, but even with 3 hours, I didn't get nearly enough of what I wanted. I really need more. And I can't believe I have to not only wait a week, but I have to wait week to week to week to get this parsed out over 5 weeks. You know, Apple never relented and just started releasing more episodes of defending Jacob. HBO Max did with Love Life. They, quickly gave another 3 episodes instead of going one a week. And so maybe if we all complain enough about it, they'll give us more episodes of The Boys instead of making this parsed out week to week. But I'm curious how you feel about release strategies and, the overall golden age of superhero television. It raises the bar for all these shows, and it makes it a more competitive landscape. But you know who wins? We do. And I love all these shows. Again, I love all these shows. My main complaint is that I don't like the release strategy, and this second season was not written to play into that. So The Boys returns, the first 3 episodes return September 4th on Amazon Prime. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.